All right, everybody. Our next guest here on International Podcast Day goes by Tigo, but this lady is doing some amazing things with her podcast, her media, and doing just absolutely awesome stuff that you're going to want to pay attention. Make sure you grab a pen and paper because I guarantee you can take some notes because she's taking things to a whole different level with her show. So we are honored to have Theresa Goss, Tigo, joining us on International Podcast Day. What is going on?
Hey, what's happening with you? I'm excited to be here. I'm doing things. You're doing things, man. I'm just following in your blazing trail.
No. It's the beautiful thing with the beautiful thing is we can all carve out our own message and our own journey, right?
Yes, this is true. This is true.
So for those that don't know who the powerhouse that Tigo is, share our listeners and those watching us a little about your journey as a podcaster, how you got where you're at today, and what kind of motivated you to start and why'd you start and where you're at?
Well, I've been in production, television and film for talk shows, all kinds of stuff for about 18 years. And for the last 5 years or so, my family, friends, and everybody else said, go in front of the camera, go in front of the camera. And I said, no, that's not what I do. I sit back here and then I edit. I'm the creative person. I'm not the host. And in January, we launched Expert Talk because I wanted to talk with people like you. I wanted to talk with experts all over the world and give them an opportunity to share their platforms and other medias on top of podcasts.
That makes a lot of good sense there. Now, what's been the biggest surprise since you started your podcast that maybe you didn't think was going to happen, or just kind of like, wow, that's kind of a interesting side thing?
You know, what's the biggest surprise is, one, as I sit here with my lovely little white cord hanging from my ear, is technical issues, dude. I mean, during this whole COVID thing, let's not pretend it's not happening. I don't have a crew. You know, I usually have a crew. I have somebody running around and doing this stuff. I knew I had an interview with you at 10 o'clock. At 9:47, I went, where's that mic I use when I'm on with someone else? And I couldn't find it. So, finding great sound, finding a great way to create right now is really hard for everyone because of COVID and people are stuck at home. And that's been the biggest adjustment for me. I don't have my studio and all that kind of good stuff, all my toys. I had to learn how to do this thing on my own like everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing is, you know, everybody's had to learn how to evolve. You know what I mean? And so,
yes,
whether it's going from a studio, like I'm used to usually record in my office, like I said, the lights all set up, so you have to figure out, okay, how am I going to pivot? And yeah, I got to do more myself because there's not other people there to help me out with this. But when you think about all the people you've interviewed with Expert Talk, you know, what's also stands out from maybe the interviews or the episodes you've done?
You know, what stands out for me is that so many of the people I invite on don't believe they're experts. They say, hey, I just do what I do. You know, you were on Young Man and you were pretty much, I do what I do. Even though you're in front of the camera, you're doing everything in real estate, but you just don't think about yourself as the expert. And then I come along and say, hey, how do you do this? Why do you do that? And they go, whoa, maybe I am an expert. Aha, yes, you are. If you've been doing what you've been doing for more than 5 years, if somebody's been doing it for 4.5 years, you're an expert to them because you're one step up. And that's a lot of fun.
Now, how's that transition for you been from going from behind the camera to in front of the camera or in front of the mic, Tigo? Because I know that's a lot of people struggle with. Like, oh, I don't have anything to say. I'm scared to get in front of. I'm gonna, in front of on the mic, or oh my God, in front of the video camera. How's that kind of work? Is it you dealt with any inner voices like a lot of people do?
Oh yeah, and inner voices, fear. You know, who am I going to talk with today? And as we get on new platforms and bigger platforms, I'm going, we're where? And I get emails from countries I didn't know existed. What? You know, it just absolutely blows my mind. And then, of course, you know, I have producer clothes. You see, I'm not Oprah. I have producer clothes. I wear t-shirts, polos. So I get emails from people saying, oh, who does your makeup? Oh, where do you get your wardrobe? Hey, I'm a producer that stepped in front of the camera. So sorry. I'm just trying to share a message.
Well, but here's the thing. You're not Oprah, you're Theresa. And
yes, exactly.
God only made one Theresa. And I think it's you're comfortable being you. we all, and that's, I think it's one of the hardest things for a lot of podcasters is I want to be the next Joe Rogan, or I want to be the next Mark Maron, or the next Simon Sinek, or Russell Brunson, or whatever like that. And that's not the way to approach it. Would you say that?
I 100,000% agree, because, people want to be someone else. Even Oprah said she came out pretending to be someone else when she started. And it's like, you really have to find your own voice. I'm going to tell you right now, don't look at season 1 of Expert Talk. It was really bad, not because of the guests. It was because of me, and I needed to find my own voice. And that's what you're going to have to do. No matter what you do, no matter how many times you practice in the mirror, until you get on the mic and get in front of the camera, that's where the real practice starts. That's why you start with people people you're comfortable with, people that can help you share your message initially. And then it's a little bit easier for you to get that transition before you start talking to people outside your inner circle, and they're looking back at you going, so do you have a question? Am I here for a reason? You want to do something other than
Yeah, that's definitely the truth on things there for everybody out there that's listening, is just start to. Now, how much work preparation goes in each episode for you? Do you do a lot of research? Do you just let the conversation flow as best you can? Do you try to set up a pre-list of questions for the most part? What's been your best habits for your episodes?
What's really great is I was blessed to have some really cool mentors before I got into production that taught me in the front of the camera, the back of the camera. And there's a lady here, she's our local Oprah. Her name is Lillian McMorris, and she taught me everything for production. I worked with her for 15, 16 years before she retired. And she said, it's a conversation. Mm-hmm. I don't do pre-questions. You understand who they are, why they're there, and then you follow the rabbit hole. And that's what I try to do, because what ends up happening, if you have a list, for me anyway, if I have a list of questions, I'm concentrating on getting those questions answered, and they could mention something that I knew nothing about, that wasn't on Google, that wasn't on their website, that is literally an exclusive for my show. Right. And I skip over it because I'm trying to get to question 5, question 6. If you're doing a conversation, it's way more comfortable for me. So I make sure I know who they are, what they do, what message they want to convey. And then I'll ask them something goofy to start it off. What's your dog's name? What do you do for family vacations? Because it gets them to break their cycle, especially if they're used to doing interviews in a certain way. It gets them to break their cycle and go, wait a minute, what? And just start talking with me. It's a conversation. Let's just talk about it. The only difference is we're also airing on regular television, so we have a time restriction as opposed to a podcast where you can just go and go.
Now, let me ask a question. A lot of people get upset when people are like, if it's not just audio, if you're just not on iTunes or all the media platforms, it's not a podcast. You're a vlog if you're using video. Or your TV first, your audio second. You got to be audio first, be a podcast. What's your thoughts about that? I have an opinion. I want to hear your opinion.
I want to hear yours too, but I'm going to tell you mine. Look, it's 2020, people. Come on. It is not 1957. I am 56 years old. I remember, Wolfgang and all the guys, and they come out there and do the and all that kind of stuff, because they had to entertain you to keep you busy. But television started on radio. That's why soap operas are soap operas. They were sponsored by soap companies, and they do a little bell and talk about Dove or whatever the heck the soap was this week. Television has grown. Podcasts are growing. And that's why companies like, Amazon Music is now doing podcasts. That's why companies like iTunes has video podcasts. It's where we're going with it. People are doing more video than anything. People don't want to read anymore. If you put up a dissertation or even a one-line sentence, if you don't have a cute puppy associated with that or a video, I got news for you. They're going like this.
Yeah.
They're not paying attention. So if you want to get the following, if you want people to come on over, do both. There's nothing to extrapolate the audio from the video. So the people that want to watch you can watch you on whatever platform you're using. And the people that want to be traditional can listen on whatever platform they're using. And that's what we decided to do. I just think it's 2020. We gotta do it.
And I agree 100% with that. When you look at the numbers, you know, only 26% of really Americans are listening to audio or podcasts. So that leaves, if you only do audio, you're missing out on 74% of the rest of Americans.
Exactly.
And I agree with YouTube Red and Instagram TV and all those things. I haven't seen the numbers, but if you think back to I would be interested to see how many people watched the debate last night on a non-TV, non-network-based platform for the most part. Because I got rid of cable. Four? Well, I'm one of the four.
No, I'm kidding. I
watched it on YouTube Live last night because I got rid of cable for the most part.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, cable companies are hurting. Traditional television is hurting. You know, they can't do what we can do with interactive television, with interactive podcasts, where we can actually target a certain market, talk directly to Mary, Joe, Bob, or Sue. You can't do that on traditional television. You don't know what kind of numbers you're generating for your advertisers. We know what we're generating. We know what we're doing, who sees it, how long they watch, when they click off. And I know when y'all click off after watching the intro and go, oh, well, they're talking about so-and-so. I'll come back next week. You should stick around on my show because, hey, we talk about a lot of stuff. You know, Scott can tell you, we got into it that day. We didn't just talk about real estate. We had a good old time. Yeah. And if you clicked off in 4 minutes, you missed it. So go back and watch.
Well, and that brings a question. How does somebody go about taking their podcast and, well, you know, the video side of it, but then taking it to the next level to get it on traditional television? You know, what tips would you give to people out there that maybe have the money or the time or the resources to do that?
That's a different bear because television is, you know, I'm prior Navy, so we kind of talk in nautical terms, and television is a carrier. You know, it is a complete city on water, and you have to understand how they do that. There's a certain group of people that are brokers for television. I happen to be one of them, and we can call the various connections at the networks and say, hey, what kind of time do you have open? What's the cost? Blah, blah, blah. So if you want to get on traditional television, I'd find a broker. You can call me, I'll help you, you know, send me an email or something and I can point you in the right direction. But I'd find a broker. And because otherwise, one, you're going to pay way more rates than a broker would pay. Two, you're going to spend so much time trying to understand all the rules because television is an entirely different rule. And like my show, it's a half-hour show. In the can is the term we use, but we have to deliver it at 28 minutes and 30 seconds. Not 28 minutes and 29 seconds or 28 minutes and 31 seconds because they will call you, which is an entirely different beast for podcasts. You can be on half hour like we are right now, or you and I can sit here and say, I have nothing to do on Sunday. Let's watch the football game together and televise and be on all day. There's no restriction. So that's what I would do. Really with streaming media, that's why we started building streaming networks. We have a few. We have Pod Nation TV. We have Chapter and Verse TV, and Gutsy TV for women. That's on Roku. That's on Amazon Fire TV. That's going into Apple TV. Those channels are like a bridge between internet television, internet radio, podcasts, those things, and traditional television. And you're reaching everywhere but North Korea. So if you want to be in people's living rooms, you want people to be able to say, hey, Alexa, play this show, get on a channel that's on Roku or Amazon Fire, and they can watch you on their 200-inch television set. And it's a lot easier to do.
And the barrier to entry has gotten a whole lot more affordable with that aspect of things. If somebody's looking to start a Roku channel, what's the cost associated with it or time frame? You know, any insight you can give on that?
Oh yeah, I can give you all kinds of insight because we spent this much money on our first channel 4 or 5 years ago. And now we actually are in-house coders. We build it ourselves. And for Roku and Amazon Fire, if you know the rules, if you can code it yourself, submit it yourself, it doesn't cost you anything but your effort and your team. You just have to write it, build it, and submit it. Now, if you want someone else to do it, that's a whole nother animal. And then you got to remember, if you're doing a channel, it's more than a show. Think about, you know, if you turned on ABC and it was just me and Scott all the time. You know, you want to have other shows, other content, whether it's yours or you're inviting your friends in or whatever, if you're going to build your own channel. Otherwise, submit your content to existing channels. They're already paying for advertising. They're already driving traffic, and they've already built the rapport with the major platforms like Amazon, like Roku, because you do have to submit, you do have to follow their rules. And if you don't, especially with Amazon, they give you so many tries and then they tell you you can't submit it anymore. So you really want to know what you're doing before you even open that door.
It makes a lot of good sense there. And that's really good counsel out there. I'm curious about, we talked about this briefly a little bit after our interview there. And you and I need to talk some more about that, because that's the thing. I think a lot of people want to do that, but then they also like, oh God, it's going to cost all this money or all this expertise, when you can partner up with somebody who's already, you know, carved the path or has set aside the stuff to make it a lot easier to be part of a network of some sort and be that, you know, not 24 hours of Tigo, but, 30 minutes of Tigo and the other 23 and a half of other friends of Tigo going through things, right?
I'm thinking about that. Do I want to be on for 24 hours? No, you know, absolutely not. You know, 30 minutes.
That's a lot of reruns.
Ooh, that's a lot of reruns. That's a lot of, my family already says, hey, you're filming again today? If you're doing 24 hours on your own channel by yourself, you're filming every day. Yeah. Because people want to know new content. They don't want to come back and see that same recipe, that same interview. They want new content all the time.
Mm-hmm. Now, how are you separate? Right. Now, how are you, when you look at the video that you're doing for the show, and then the podcast side of things, what would you say when you look at editing when it comes down to both? Obviously, the TV's got a lot more precise editing than the podcast does. What's the difference in the two as far as time frame and commitment for you?
You know, if I'm doing a straight audio podcast, which we really don't do that much anymore, but if I am doing that, I'm going in and getting rid of, the swear words of this is rated G. I'm getting rid of, I messed that up. I'm sorry. Can I do it again? Right. And I'm leaving in the ums. I'm leaving in the O's, unless it's a lot of ums and O's, because people don't realize when they say cutting a film, back in the day, they literally cut that film with a very, very sharp razor, and that's where it comes from. So when you cut the film, try matching a piece of paper up together and get it to perfectly match again once you cut it. It doesn't. So you end up with a lot of jumps, especially in video, but in audio too, where you go, and people go, what happened? Well, I was cutting out the ums. Don't cut out the ums. Mm-hmm. You say them in real life, leave them alone. And then in television, we use, multiple cameras on my end. I use Zoom for my guests. And then I'm blending those together either in Camtasia or in Premiere. And then when I get done with it, sometimes I try to shoot at least 5 or 10 minutes more content, because it's always better to have too much than too little when you're restricted on time. Trust me, I have had a show that was 24 minutes and I ran around going, what am I going to do with the other 4.5 minutes I got to fill? And you guys just got to watch a lot of commercials. Sorry about that. But, you want to have that film ready, cut it up with the different cameras, so that when Scott said, I didn't like that part, can I do it again? I can cut it right there, bring me in as another part, and then go to him, and it doesn't look like it's skipping all the time. Then I just extrapolate the audio from there for my podcast. It literally stays the same. I don't re-edit it. I have to re-edit it for Amazon Prime. What was I thinking going to Amazon Prime? It is it's internet meets Prime Television meets Roku slammed together in a bowl, and they give you a document about this big and say, let us know when you're ready. But it's definitely fun being out there.
Right. No, that makes a lot of good sense. And that's what I like about the fact is most of the time Zoom will give you an opportunity to clock it with at least 2 video profiles. And that helps with the editing, like you just said. So it doesn't look like a skip. Yeah. It's more of a natural progression with the camera changing angles. Mm-hmm. It is most definitely a natural progression. And people's eyes pick that up. Yeah.
And after they see it a couple of times, they stop watching.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they think something's wrong with their system, something's wrong with their internet, or this person just doesn't know how to do a podcast. So just let it flow. You know, you're a human. They expect you to be human. They don't expect you to be perfect. You mentioned Russell Brunson earlier. I watch his videos all the time. I know you do too. And he himself messes up all the time. Yeah. He's not running into an edit bay to fix it. He's like, here it is. There you go. I got to go to the next thing. And that's the way you have to deal with it.
I love that. It's great advice and counsel there for those out there. What would you say when you think back to all the production done, all the things? What's a mistake that stands out, or an error that stands out that you're just like, oh, I wish I hadn't done that? And then we'll go back, and I want to flip the script to the thing that stands out the most as a positive on with your background, Theresa.
Well, I mean, in 18 years, I'm going to go back to my very, very first radio interview. Okay. And I had to be drug in from the hallway by the engineer and the host. Because when the on-air light came on, I went, Mommy. And I said, I'm not going in there. What are you, crazy? And Lillian McMorris was hosting that show. And she said, and they had to drag the chair in. I get to the mic. She asked me questions. It's radio, not a podcast. It's radio. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting in the mic doing this. And she puts her hand over the mic and says, honey, it's radio. They can't see you. You have to talk. Okay. And I spent the next half hour with my eyes like this, looking at the engineer. And when she asked questions, I said, no, maybe. What? I think so. And she threatens all the time to put that on the internet so everybody can see it. Ooh, that was my day. Yeah, that was my biggest, oh my God, I'm never doing this again. And now, 18 years later, here I sit in front of the camera every day.
Nothing like getting tossed in the deep end of the pool and being told to figure out and swim, right?
Oh yeah. Woo.
Now on the opposite side, what's one moment that stands out the most in the last few years of you, 18 years, that's been like, that was freaking awesome. That's the thing when I need a happy spot, and when I do I go back to?
You know, I have a few of those, but what I really, really love is when I bring someone on whatever show it is, and they've not done a lot of media in their lives, and they were terrified before they got there. And then when it's over, they look at me or they look at the host at the time and they say, oh my God, that was way easier than I ever thought it could be. And then they call us and say, I got a client from that. I expanded my business from that. I decided to do my own show from that. And that just makes me go, yeah, we're doing what we're supposed to do. It's all about the service. And we're just trying to help you get to that next level. And I know it sounds like I'm on my soapbox. Scott knows I live on my soapbox, but you have to do video if you want to expand your business and you're online. Even if you're a brick and mortar company, you've got to do video because people aren't leaving their homes. So you have to. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is.
Well, but that's the thing is, and that leads to the next thing, in this crazy world where everybody is stuck at home or not traveling as much as they used to. When you look at online shopping is up, 40% or more. It was up in the first month alone, and how that's led to it. So many brick and mortar stores are closing or downsizing. That's the thing, is that's the missing key. You still got to have that customer experience to share your wares. Like we just had Mark Farrell on about the jeweler's philosophy.
I love Mark.
He's like, oh, he's like, T goes on next. Awesome. But that's the thing, is sharing what you're doing and incorporating it. Because if you fight it, you might as well, it's basically fighting it is you're going out of business. You're a dinosaur if you're not, right?
Exactly. I always reference back to when the cars started. You know, when they invented the car and you had your horse and buggy, I'm sure you were really upset when they went flying by with all the pollution then. And you were like, these cars will never work. Well, guess what? I don't see many horse and buggies running around Vegas right now. So yeah, you got to progress. You got to grow. You got to get out of your comfort zone. If we didn't, we still be in kindergarten, or we still be learning how to walk. You know, every day is a challenge. Every day we have to face that challenge.
Yeah, that's great. Is there a tool that you use in editing or your production that you just absolutely love? That if you could be the spokesperson for that tool that you would share, which you have something like that that you really love, that you love to use, it's easy for you?
I love Camtasia. Camtasia is an editing software. It's done by TechSmith. And I joined it and got involved in Camtasia, good grief, before they had numbers. It was like 7 years ago or something like that. And it was really built for people that were doing webinars, people that were doing things they needed to screen capture from. And I've done everything, including edit documentary in it. I've edited music videos in it. I've had 7 lines of 7 cameras in it. And they sent me a survey a few years ago and said, how are you using Camtasia in a unique way? So I sent them what I'm doing with it, and they made me a beta tester. So I actually beta test for them. But it's very easy to learn, if you're starting out and you just have a single camera or 2, and you want special effects, you want to add a bottom third, that kind of a thing. Camtasia is very easy to learn. Even their instructional videos are pretty simple.
Nice. That's a really good tool. We've used it quite a bit in the past as well, and love it because it does give you a lot of flexibility to get creative, but in a pretty simple way out there.
Yeah.
Where do you see your show going as we kind of get to the end of the session here? Where do you see the future being for you, Theresa? What's the next 12 months hold for Expert Talk?
Is there an antenna on the moon? Because that's where I want to go. We are, as you know, we're on iHeart. We just got on Amazon Music. We're on Roku, Amazon Fire. We got picked up by Amazon Prime. We're now on Cox here in Vegas, the family channel in 34 markets. We want to expand to more days because we're getting a lot more people saying they want to be on. We want to expand to be on more days, and we want to expand to more traditional television platforms, mainly because our guests don't have that opportunity. They're not getting called by CNBC or Ellen or whatever to be on traditional television. So we want to give them that opportunity so they can put it on their website as seen on Cox, as seen on the Family Channel, as seen on Amazon Prime. So that's where we see it. We're going to keep adding days, probably add a few more shows. We're expanding our streaming networks. We're inviting our friends in, including you, to come on in and share their shows. Yeah, we just want to keep growing and keep sharing the messages.
Awesome. What is the best way for people to connect with you, podcasters or people listening out here that are in the media space looking to learn more or find out how they can work with you in a variety of ways?
The best way to do it is just go to experttalkwithtgo.com. That is probably the easiest, experttalkwithtgo.com. And then when you get there, there's actually a button there. If you want me to be a guest on your show, there's something there for that. If you want to be a guest on our show, there's something there for that. And then you can also find out all the platforms that we're airing on. Then, of course, I'm on every social media. I'm a computer geek. That's what I do. But I like hiding in dark rooms and dark corners and just being on computer when I'm not on the air. But yeah, you guys can just find me on any social media. Put in Expert Talk with Tigo, and on Google, you'll find me.
Awesome. Well, Tigo, thank you so much for coming on International Podcast Day and sharing. I've really enjoyed this session. And I haven't enjoyed everybody else's session, but it's always good when 2 media people are speaking and talking about what they're enjoying and trying to advance everything out there. So thanks for being a part.
Well, thank you for having me. And, once you become a part of my family, you can't get rid of me. So you and I will be doing stuff forever. I've already invited myself to your retirement when you go to the island. So I will be there for the next 20 or 30 years.
I love it. Be safe out there, Theresa. Look forward to hanging in person sometime soon, hopefully.
You too. And everybody go check out his interview. It's up right now. Check it out. It's on Expert Talk with Tigo.
Appreciate
it, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye. That was good.